Hello and welcome to Hitting Home. I'm Mike. I'm here with Arif, and today we've decided we are going to talk about the fact that people are just seem to be staying longer in their homes. And you had some ideas on why this is happening. Maybe we can...
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because if you take anything, we're all busy. And we're all going about our daily lives, and
Yes.
you know, oftentimes we pick up habits or we pick up just things that become routine in our life, and we don't often give it a second thought.
No. And they become apparent when you compare them generation to generation,
Absolutely.
especially. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about technology, the cell phone, things that we didn't do 5 years ago. What do they say? 5 years ago, 80% of the things that we do, 80% of the technology that we use in our lives didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I think that can be applied in many other areas of life, facets, habits, et cetera, generational traditions, et cetera, that no longer exist or that exist that never did. And it's funny because I was in a continuing education course last week, and we had the opportunity to listen to one of the directors of Research and Analytics for Genworth Canada. I think I just gave him his job title though, so I'm not sure that that's what it was. But really what he's talking about, one of the things that really makes this topic apparent is the fact that the average household income has not increased in Canada in 10 years.
No.
Now, it doesn't mean that some people aren't making more money than they were 10 years ago.
Mind you, year by year, cost of living has continued to increase.
So certainly the net retained income or disposable income, if you will,
we're losing buying power,
has absolutely diminished. Yeah, and you see people working longer hours, you see people picking up extra jobs, extra shifts, weekend jobs, cottage industry, if you will. I think they still call it cottage industry. The home-based businesses that you see at the different trade shows, craft shows, the different home-based parties, etc. You see, I'm willing to bet that a certain percentage of people do those things because they absolutely enjoy it. And I'm willing to bet that there are people who are doing it because they feel
rely
they need
on
to
that
make ends
extra
meet.
income too.
Yeah.
And how that is kind of assimilating itself into the home market is, again, people are staying longer. I've been doing this 18 years. I would say from 2000 to about 2012, a majority of buyers were quickly looking, found that house they want, but had the mindset that we're probably going to move in another 3 or 4 years anyways. People were continuing to trade up. Now, with house prices where they're at, people are thinking more long-term. And a good reflection of that was going into so many homes built within the last 30 years, and about 2/3 of the homes in Barrie area were built within the last 30 years. And I would say 3 out of 4 of them, you go down to look at the basement, unfinished basement. And again, because people weren't thinking long-term. Now, and you talked about it earlier this morning when we were having a coffee and a tea, there's a lot more people like that industry, renovation, construction is starting to boom because people are thinking longer term and people are going, I'm going to invest some money if we're going to be here for 20 years. And the other thing people are doing as well is they're putting more thought into the neighborhoods they're going to live into. And that
we're going to talk on that in the next segment.
We're going to segue to in the next segment. But I'm going
to push
it
gave
back
us
over
a
to
teaser
you.
For the second segment.
The little teaser.
Yeah,
That'll
absolutely.
Bring
but you know
back.
what? I mean, you raised a good point actually while we were having that coffee and respective tea. You talked about something that absolutely is fact, and that is our parents' generation couldn't wait to get rid of the mortgage, and you called it
the mortgage burning party.
Mortgage burning party.
Yeah.
And you said that people. Oh no, you talked.
It was a
about
point
the
of pride
separately, but it was a point of pride.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely a point of pride, and people couldn't wait to get rid of their mortgage and be mortgage free, and that's something that's so interesting because with my clients, I get a wide variety of clients, and a lot of our clients though come in with habits, things that they grew up being taught by their parents. Which were probably great habits that worked back then, and they absolutely,
it's a little more difficult.
They absolutely don't apply today.
I don't think
and it's hard. It's hard to tell a client, forget
yeah.
what your parents told you, they were wrong. They weren't wrong.
No, but they were living in a different world.
They were living in a different world. Yeah. And the use of credit today is much different than it was back then.
We don't look at a mortgage as something with a beginning and a defined end point. We almost think we're resolved to the idea we're going to have a mortgage for the rest of our lives.
Well, let's go back to the original comment. And the original comment was that I made was this statistic, English.
Say it again.
Yeah, statistic.
Okay.
Yeah, that the average Canadian household is earning the same amount or
Yes.
less than they were 10 years ago. And so how does that that doesn't happen in isolation.
No.
What does that mean? It means that while previous generations were doing whatever they could to get rid of their home, and buying power actually probably had more power,
Yes.
back then. Today, people are using their home as an ATM. That's one of our red
Leveraging.
flag things that we have to do in
Yes.
terms of underwriting and making sure that people can afford the home or the refinance they're getting into when they come and meet with us. It's are we just perpetuating bad habits? Do we, as brokers and agents who are offering a certain level of financial guidance and input with our clients, are we supposed to be telling them, maybe instead of just refinancing for the fourth time in 5 years, maybe you need to be looking at, some personal habits?
Yeah.
Can you cut
Tough
down?
conversation to have, but it's an important one.
Have you budgeted?
Yes. Well, a lot of people don't even know what that entails.
So yeah, but the other point about you talked about people staying in their home a lot longer. That's so true. Then really, if you look at where we were, I don't know what it is, 20 years ago now, maybe 25 years ago, but the whole home renovation business and the DIY business has really just taken off.
No, it's a good thing.
The big box stores, the Home Depots, Lowe's, Rona's.
Oh, they're busy all the
et cetera.
time. I go in there, they're packed. And even on a Wednesday evening, and it's not just contractors in there, it's everybody's doing work on their homes and fixing this. And I like to see this. I like the idea that people are staying longer and putting some more, pulling more pride from their home because they're looking at it in that light as a long-term thing, rather than just it being that short-term stay. It's a good thing all around, I think, for everybody.
What we talked about, though, really was also quality of life and lifestyle.
Yes.
And that's really key. I mean, again, generationally, what is it with me today? Generationally, I would say many people had a house in the city or wherever they lived, and they aspired towards either a cottage that they owned themselves or a cottage maybe that they shared amongst friends and family. But people had cottages.
Yeah.
Or people
there were still a lot of cottages being passed down generation to generation
Absolutely.
then, too, which a lot of them have.
And people had the home in Florida or the home south of the border, something like that. And today what we're seeing is, and I likened this in our coffee tea meeting, to the evolution of the pickup truck. A number of people in trades, they either had a work van or a work pickup truck. And now folks they only have one car garage or a single driveway, and they buy this all-encompassing pickup truck with 4 doors, leather seats, and infotainment system.
Well, it was a tool then, and now it's a fashion statement.
But it's also a way.
comfort.
It's also a way
creature
of
comfort.
having both. And so, really, if you liken that evolution, if you think about where people are going, again, it's not in isolation. It's not, oh, by the way, what a coincidence. It's people are evolving as life evolves, and so the home has turned into sort of that idea of the pickup truck. It's no longer a cottage and a separate home, or a vacation home and a separate home, or a condo in the city and a separate home. It's the staycation. So it's the evolution of the backyard oasis, or what has been commonly called the man cave, or the entertainment, the theater, the home theater downstairs. Is people are doing what they can to turn their home into that place, because really just the affordability of taking vacations and having these other things, that extra money's not there.
Without realizing, we're coming back around to more traditional home values.
Yeah. So when we come back from the break, I think we can maybe we can blend this into the idea of why people are choosing what type of home, and maybe where they're choosing that
Where
home.
they're putting a lot more thought into
their lifestyle.
where they're going to live, what neighborhoods and that, with the knowledge that they are likely to stay longer than. And so we'll.
I'm not sure we're done with this topic.
Oh no.
But when we come back, let's touch on the different neighborhoods and why people are choosing them.
Not necessarily to rate them, but just to define
definitely.
them, and just
what's the attraction to a certain neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure it out on the break.
After the break.
All right, see you back on Heading Home. And welcome back to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif. And we've been talking about really is it English to say uncoincidental?
In today's show, I think you could probably
The non-coincidental?
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence.
It's in the Urban Dictionary.
It is not a coincidence that as the reality of life and the reality of household income and the reality of debt levels and the realities of our work-life balance really impacts us on a daily basis. And maybe it's sort of, I don't want to say death by a thousand cuts, even though I just said it. That's kind of like morbid sounding. But the fact of the matter is that we are impacted by additional stresses and pressures in life. And
it's not as simple as it once was. There's a lot more things we're involved with.
No, and we're morphing, we're evolving, and some may say, are we evolving for the better, et cetera? Again, a different session that we were at, we had the mayor's breakfast a week ago. And there was an incredible speaker, if I could, even Eric Emenuendez, and I think I probably slaughtered his name too. But he talked about the fact that, you know, for the last generation, we've seen just this increase in surge in technology, and technology getting better and faster and more in our lives, and you have four people at a dinner table.
In theory, it was going to make our lives simpler and give us more time to connect. But
his prediction is that as technology increases and improves, actually, we're actually going to use it more just for convenience, and we're going to get technology out of our lives.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I truly do. The fact of the matter is, though, that we're seeing shifts. We're seeing shifts, and you bang on. People are staying more and more in their homes, and they're staying longer, and they're renovating their homes. And I actually truly believe that it's, well, first and foremost, it's cheaper to finish your
Economics
basement for
is a big part of it.
$25,000 than it is to buy a cottage or a second home. But more importantly, buying a cottage or a second home that you may get up to one weekend this summer. You might just go and open it, work it.
You don't have time.
And
you
then
got to work
at the
that
end of the
extra
season
job
and
to
close it.
manage to carry that that cottage. It's difficult for many, and again, back to economics, it's creating other lifestyle changes too. We're seeing multi-generational occupation of a home, which is kind of not to stereotype, but kind of an old European type of model where, you know, 2 or 3 generations live in the same home. Coming back around to that, and it's out of necessity. I think it's a good thing for many other reasons. But
let's talk about a reality of that as well.
Yeah.
In the news today, National Post, Globe and Mail, somewhere in there today, talking about the fact that it's not like the baby boom was kept a secret.
No.
And that retirement residences and nursing homes, et cetera, placements, availability of that housing stock, for lack of a better word, it's not there.
No,
we're
it's
way
not.
beyond.
And
way
we're falling.
behind.
We're losing ground day to day on that too, and that's plays into the other element of the empty nester.
Well, but do you think it's a coincidence that you have multi generations living in one home, though? That's the thing.
Oh, it's not coincidence.
It's out of necessity.
There's pressures, and be they choices or just lack of choices, I guess, is probably more how you would term it, or lack of options. Let's.
I guess we could summarize it, though. When you look at who's buying what home, I think now more than ever, you're seeing the buyer very particular, not just on price point, but on lifestyle, quality of life, on what they're getting. And we could talk about different types of built form. We could talk about who's living in a condo versus a town versus a single detached. And you'll get the young professional who says, you know what, I'm good with a condo lifestyle or a townhome lifestyle because I get all of the creature comforts that I need, but I don't have to do the yard maintenance. I don't have to snowplow my driveway, that kind of thing. I can go to my gym in the basement or the pool in the basement of the condo, whatever
people are appreciating these things. And I think as well, we're not ready as a society, at least in central Ontario where we are, to totally embrace or give into the rental, being renters for our entire lives. Some of the bigger cities, I think people are resolved to that notion. Here, we all have the goal of ownership at some point, or most of us do. And again, to bring that back around to neighborhoods and that, where are people going within town? And we did make a list.
We have a list right here.
By coincidence, we have a list.
Yeah.
So
well,
start
we
us
wanted
off.
to pick about the downtown core, right? I mean, I think Barrie in particular. Now we're going to cover the area. We're going to cover the region as best we can in the time that we have. But certainly the downtown core, and much to the chagrin of our downtown BIA, might include the lakeshore itself. But we are definitely
depends who you talk to, but at the core of the city. And
but for years, and certainly this council has been talking about it, and the last term of council as well has been talking about it, we're talking about increasing density in the downtown core.
And making it a walkable community, once
Absolutely.
again, and a completely serviced community.
You know what, you hear about the difference between cities that are walkable and that have a quality. Remember this, is that theoretically, typically people are working 9 to 5, and then you have an area where the sidewalks roll up at 5 p.m.
Yep.
I used to live in California, downtown Los Angeles, thriving and bustling during the day. 5 p.m.
It's quiet.
It was quiet. It was very
Whereas
much
New
a
York,
corporate,
it's totally different.
a corporate head office downtown. Barrie is a community as much as it's a city
and
a large city.
And in evolving
community.
with more and more multi-unit residential coming into the downtown core, more and more
So who's gonna
businesses
live there,
being
though?
established. I would think it's going to be a combination of a lot of seniors, empty nesters, urban professionals who maybe don't have 2 or 3 kids that just want that downtown lifestyle. Those are predominantly going to be, I would say they'd be near the top tier of those demographics.
I would argue that may be generationally true.
Yeah.
But I would say that you're seeing you're going to see young families come in, and I'm surprised that the school board
more
decided
and more.
to get
And I
out
touched
of
on
the
that in an early
business in the
episode.
downtown.
Yeah, being in downtown Toronto and was amazed at all the young mothers pushing strollers I saw down there because they're moving into
People
those
are
condos
comfortable
out of
with-
necessity too. But there's an acceptance of that model as being home now more so than the old traditional suburban.
You're going to see a downtown
3-bedroom
grocer.
house.
You
We're gonna
will
have to
absolutely see a
zip
downtown
through these,
grocer. You're
though,
going to also
to
see
get-
the use of the farmers market.
Well, yeah, the butcher, the fishmonger, the bakery, all of it in the downtown. It's coming back. There was an exodus from our downtowns over the 60s and 70s to the shopping mall, and now it's coming full circle to a full service downtown again.
Now let's talk about Allendale just for a second.
which
Allendale
is
and
your
Allendale
home
Heights.
neighborhood.
Absolutely. I think we're also going to see a transformation there. And I think what we are seeing is you are seeing people who are leaving the downtown Toronto core. They're moving to an area in Barrie or surrounding area where they can have a city, an urban lifestyle, but they're loving the idea of renovation. They're buying the charm and the character of potentially a historic home.
Yeah, you have historic homes, and you have the
mature
30
trees,
to 40-year-old
parks.
Allendale Heights homes.
Walk to the
Established,
lakeshore.
nice trade neighborhoods, and they're nice homes. I would say
Walk to the bike path.
upper middle, or let's say upper middle class homes.
Sure.
You know,
Absolutely. But they're also walking to the GO train.
Yes,
They
well,
may
that's
be- they
the
may very
other
well
draw
be
there.
commuters.
Is you have the GO train right there, and you have the lake right there, and you have the potential for redevelopment of that whole stretch of Essa Road, which is going to be
Call
an
it
interesting.
gentrification, what it is.
Well, it's an interesting corridor once it's completed. There's a lot of underutilized land along that stretch that I think could be.
It's the one that the city's calling for, the people are calling for, and here's why though.
We will see.
We were in a
a
waiting
great-
period and a holding period for whether or not this university was going to come to Barrie.
Yep.
It didn't come.
No.
But I think quite rightly and quite understandably, the investors in the development community said it's not worth going ahead and being first and being wrong.
Yes.
Only to find out that the university went in a different area of town, or they built something that was all of a sudden redundant because it was on the university campus. The university never happened. I think we're going to see development
So
in the
we've
area,
had
and it's
to
certainly a
rethink.
focus
Yeah,
of council.
it's happening.
We got to go to break, but when we come back, we'll certainly pick this up, and I think you've
And we're
got this
gonna
neat
we're
way of
gonna have
wrapping
to
it all back
go
together.
quickly
A little-
through the rest of this list because it's a good list to cover in the last 8 to 10 minutes. But I think we'll get through it.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Hitting Home with Mike and Arif, a show where we talk about what's on your mind at around the kitchen table, and a show apparently where Arif invents words by the minute.
Well, that's good. We need a new language. We're due for one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about neighborhoods and why people are choosing them, or what the appeal is to certain neighborhoods or certain areas of town.
Yeah. And we realized our list is longer than the number of minutes we have left in the show.
Absolutely.
So
Let's talk about South End, though. Who's moving in the South End?
South End, what I'm seeing as a realtor is a lot of commuters, a lot of people who are working in the 905 GTA area. Funny enough, they'll say, I want to be in the South End. Don't show me in the North End. Time-wise, there's like about a 2-3 minute difference for them for commute, but nonetheless, they feel more comfortable being in that South End. And same with Innisfil as well.
They like the idea of new recreation centers. They like the idea of the
You have
new
the GO
library.
train and the South End as well.
The Southeast folks are definitely going to the GO train. Probably the Southwest folks are hopping on the highway.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, and that's one of the bigger draws for there. So
What about the East End? East End's got a certain charm and character.
It does
to
have that charm because you've got older 1960s built homes. A lot of homes with the split side entrance make them perfectly designed for second suites.
Now, are they buying it for the home or are they buying it for the lot? Because typically you're getting a treed lot.
Mature trees. You drive down
lots.
some of those East End streets, Cynthia Court, Rose and everything, you just, that canopy of trees, it just has that charm. Feels like High Park in Toronto, just that older established.
So these are people now, and I think also they're moving back into the neighborhood that they grew up in. To the younger generations are rebuying.
They were raised
in.
there, and they're rebuying in.
You've seen a lot of that in Allendale as well.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of that for sure.
Okay, so and then you get North Central. So
North Central is like the Bayfield corridor, and I would say
Livingston,
from Ann
Crundles.
Street over to St. Vincent and north of the 400. It's a hodgepodge. There's a lot of the earlier multi-residential exists along that corridor, and there's a lot of, I would say, mid-range, price-wise, detached homes.
Gorgeous pockets, those Sunnydale.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
without a doubt.
So
yeah. Sunnydale is unique to itself.
have
It's
the
almost a
history.
neighborhood of its own that needs to be defined on its own.
You've also got an embracing of multi-unit residential, but people who want access to the shopping districts as
They
well.
want to be close to shopping. Those with kids want to be there in that area because it's nice 2, 3, or 3 and 4 bedroom homes, detached yards, and then we can segue over to the Letitia area, which is everything west of Ann, north of Dunlop. We could call that the Letitia. Again, I would say mid-range to affordable with regards to detached homes. Lots of them built in the 70s and 80s.
You're seeing a lot of redevelopment in that area there as well with the multi-units, et cetera.
There's redevelopment, and you're seeing a lot of those homes which are now 30 to 40 years old have hit a point where they're being refurbished, and there's like visibly driving through some of those streets, you can see the changes.
I'm seeing a lot of first-time home buyers. I'm seeing a lot of young families in the area as well. Is that accurate, or?
I would think so because of, again, affordability in comparison to other areas of Barrie for detached homes. It's attractive in that regard.
Yeah. So now we've talked a lot about Barrie and the core itself, but we obviously have people who are viewers who are living in and around
the satellite regions,
Simcoe County.
Well,
but
let's touch
I
on
also
some of them.
have a great number of clients who are coming in and saying, well, one, price point.
Yeah.
I just can't get in Barrie. And two, I am, as a buyer, defiant that I want a property, and I want my children to be able to run around in their yard, and I want to have space between my neighbors and myself, et cetera. So
add to that, in that category would be the people who do own a home in Barrie and realize that within a half an hour, 45 minutes, going north, northeast, northwest, I can be in a similar home, potentially with a larger lot,
with a pool,
and I could knock $100,000 to $200,000 off my mortgage.
And you're still in proximity to an urban core.
Yes, exactly. And that would put us up into the regions of, say, Midland, Penetang, Tay-Tiny up in there. There's a lot of people moving up that direction. Anton Mills, there's a lot of little residential development regions in there. Amazing homes, and if you look at a home that's $600,000 there, you come to Barrie, that home's likely to be more like $850,000 to $900,000. So that's a draw for a lot of people.
There are people who are getting water access or lakefront-ish or lakefront. Or Medante.
Well, that whole Ridge Road corridor, Shanty Bay, Oro Station, Hockley, all along there. People want to be out that way.
But I think what you'll see is people are willing to commute a few minutes longer. Might be half an hour longer, might be a little bit more. They're willing to commute for the quality of life, for the one day, when I don't need to commute, or the fact that my spouse and my children are able to enjoy our evenings and weekends together. And again, it's instead of the cottage, or it's instead of the second home.
It's kind of the hybrid for that.
It's a hybrid. It's a place that truly, it's our home, it's our sanctuary, it's where we have fun, it's where we play. So very interesting.
Yeah, and if we go down the other side and you look at Innisfil, which is, like Elkona is a city unto itself now. It was a little village when I moved back here in 2000. It's self-sustaining, it's got everything, and a lot of, again, 905 GTA want to buy in that region. And there was a time not too long ago where I would tell clients, well, if you want to maybe knock a 10, 20% off your price. Let's look down in Innisfil. That's reversed. Those homes are now 10, 20, 30% more than Barrie homes of equal.
Mike, I think we bit off more than we can chew, to be quite honest, for this topic, and I think it's a
we'll
topic that we can go on.
revisit this,
But we're actually, this is it for us for this season.
That's right.
And,
Season finale.
But you came up with a great idea.
Yeah, we're
And we're gonna throw this over to a podcast.
podcast. I mean, you can't just expect us to
Really,
go
it's
mute.
contagious, isn't it?
It is. I think so. Maybe we should take the summer off just to learn the English language once again. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to take our efforts to the podcast. You won't have to look at us, but you'll get to listen to us weekly here for over the course of the summer until we come back in the fall. And you'll be able to access those podcasts on hittinghome.ca. Where you can also access past episodes of the TV show.
But you've also got us on your realtor
on my website, which is gimmeshelter.ca, and maybe we'll post that to the bottom of the screen. So you can go to either one of those sites. Lots of other great stuff on the website, gimmeshelter.ca, as you'll see when you go there.
Yeah.
You have your website as well.
Resources on the website, et cetera. Absolutely. Yeah, at scbroker.com we'll have it streaming as well, and other useful tools. But I think what's important is that we hopefully have delivered to our viewers what we set out to do in this show, in this season, which is to talk about the things that are going on at the kitchen table, but to also stress the importance of building that valuable team.
Building that team, yes.
Building that team around you. So anyway, listen, we'll see you again when we come back on Hitting Home in the fall, but hopefully you'll tune into our podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Summer shows. Thanks very much.